Wouldn't it be crazy if I told you that for the last 7 to 8 years, XLM has been building a massive ascending triangle? This is a bullish structure that could point to signals looking for a major breakout. Let's dive into the content. Nothing that I say is financial advice. So looking at XLM on the 3-month time frame, we're very zoomed out here. So each candle represents 3 months. You can see we've got this multi-year ascending support. So ever since we actually created this level of resistance here in 2018, you can see we've been coiling up between a level of resistance and ascending support ever since. And we've had sort of 3 major contact points, I would say, on this multi-year resistance, which is what we need to clear at around 43 cents. Seeing a close above that would be XLM's highest 3-month candle close, and that could come this quarter. And I think that we're right on the edge here, awaiting for a decision. So anyways, getting to this pattern, you can, as I said, you have this multi-year level of resistance, this horizontal resistance, and you have this ascending level of support. So ever since 2018, all the way to where we are now, you could say that this has been a rough, building this pattern for 2,738 days. This is a bullish pattern. We're going to head over to our website now to have a look at this pattern, and you can see here ascending triangle, horizontal line can be drawn along the price highs right here, and the rising line can be drawn along the swing lows, so where you're building this higher lows. And what happens is you come up and you squeeze and squeeze and squeeze into the corner, you get really tight, compression leads to expansion, and then you go for a major breakout. You can see that it's very similar here in structure for XLM, where it came into this pattern in 2018 at those last prior bull run highs, which again, it hasn't actually taken out, so to speak. So XLM hasn't placed a new all-time high since 2018. That's something very important to note there. It is lagging behind, and therefore I feel like when this break does come, it could be really impulsive. But carrying on here in this structure, you've got this correction back to support, run up to resistance again, to support, to resistance. And over the last since January 2025 up until April, May, you can see that we've had this shallow correction, which has brought us back to this thick yellow line here. This is the 3-month 20 EMA. Above this EMA is beautiful, and you can see that we've had a pullback towards it. Didn't get a contact point, but nonetheless we are seeing a beautiful reaction from this sort of area. So right now it looks like we're trying to get this break to get the continuation. Is it going to occur now, or are we likely to see some further pullbacks? We'll zoom into the monthly in a second and have a look, but as long as you're above this 3-month 20 EMA at 18 cents, I have no concerns here whatsoever. And this is a bullish structure that we're looking at here, which could point to much higher targets for XLM. Now, if we're to get a Fibonacci on and look at some potential bull run targets this cycle for XLM, going from its cycle low sort of in January 2020 back to the all-time high. I normally have my fibs over to the right, but you can see that, an $8.50 XLM I don't think would be impossible. And if we measure the breakout of this bullish ascending triangle pattern, we go from the neckline of resistance back down to the first point of contact on support. When you actually get the break of this resistance, you can see that it does push us up towards sort of $5. Now that's an interesting area because it might also tie up with the 1414, and you can see it's close to the 1414 fib extension at $4. But I honestly think that XLM can definitely hit, I say definitely, could potentially hit the 1618 fib this cycle, and that would be from current targets. You're looking at a potential 19x, and again up to that 1414, which is closer to the breakout. You're looking at a rough sort of 10x in price there, which I think would be absolutely huge for XLM. So there's some targets as well that I'd be looking at here once this neckline is cleared. Ultimately, you have the all-time high wick at sort of 93, 94 cents. And then the first impulsive target would be the 1272 at $2.48. I would expect, once we do break the all-time high and a price discovery, I would expect $2.50 to be a resistance area to pull back before then going for that final sort of leg up. And if this is to come into fruition, I think it would be over the next sort of 6 to 9 months, I would like to say. 9 at a max we're pushing. You want to sort of look at earlier than that, I think, for where altcoins are going to be topping out. But at the moment, things look fantastic. And if we look at XRP here as a comparison, it's pretty much identical. Even from the prior corrections back here where it coiled up for a few years, going back to XLM, had something very similar, coiled up for a few years, and then back to XRP, major breakout. XRP's been in this ascending triangle, but over the last sort of 3 months, it's already started to break through this sort of major level of resistance and has created new 3-month candle high closes. So XLM is a little bit lagging behind, and I think that's a good thing. I think it shows that there's still room here to sort of catch up and to play catch up. And that's what XLM always does. XLM and XRP are very, very similar in price action and structure, and they always have been. They always have been. I've always found it really quite ironic, to be fair. But anyway, that was just a general sort of comparison. XRP has already got that push through. Is XLM looking for that over the next sort of short to midterm? So that's kind of what I wanted to look at here for XLM. There's also another really important signal that's sticking out here, and why XLM has sort of got this push over the last month or so. And it's because you can see, if we look right close here, we have a very interesting point of support. And that was one, as I mentioned earlier, that 3-month yellow line, this ascending, you can see it's climbing here, this 20 EMA on the 3-month. And then you've also got the upper band of the Gaussian channel here, this upper regression band, which is this light green line. You can see that we came back down to it in 2020, fell below it in 2022, built up some double bottom under the EMA, and then we managed to get back above it and have since corrected back down. After meeting major resistance, we've corrected back down towards the upper regression band of the Gaussian and the 3-month 20 EMA. So both of these indicators are currently aiding us in pushing this candle up here. And you can see XLM is on the verge and on the cusp of trying to break it. So I mean, on the macro scale of things, I think this is a very, very bullish pattern. And just from here, evidently, you can see as well, he came up to this high, came back to the upper regression, put in a lower high, fell below it. And at this point, we had to build some sort of double bottom. You can see you had a W underneath the 3-month 20, got the breakout, sort of pushed towards our macro resistance, have now corrected back to a key level of support on this very near to the 3-month 20 EMA and the Gaussian channel. Is this the time that the XLM finally gets that sort of push through of resistance and really starts kicking off to those targets that I provided in the earlier stages of the video? So that's kind of it from me, guys. As long as we remain above 20 cents, I have no concerns. And I think that, you know, zooming out and not focusing so intimately on the lower time frames, you know, just paints a lot more of a broader picture of what's going on here. It's a bullish pattern. It's bullish structure. The breakout targets are to $4 plus. And when it comes, I think it will be very impulsive. I hope you've enjoyed the content from Chart Nerd TA. Take care. Peace out.